Unbelievable. CEO Charlotte Hayes is dating a security guard? The reporter's sharp voice cuts through the crowded press room. Camera flashes explode from every direction, illuminating Charlotte's composed face as she stands at the podium. Her eyes find their way to the back of the room where Caleb stands. The man who just 6 months ago was a security guard reading books by flashlight in a dark parking garage. Charlotte takes a deep breath, looks directly into the camera and says, "Let me tell you a story about finding light in the darkest places." 6 months earlier, the underground parking garage sits cold and silent, wrapped in the stillness of a late autumn night. Fluorescent lights buzz dimly overhead, casting long shadows across rows of concrete columns. It's nearly midnight, long past when most employees have gone home. The garage is empty except for the quiet hum of a few parked cars and the faint echo of approaching footsteps. Charlotte Hayes walks with measured steps through the garage, her usual heels traded for practical flats. Her white blouse, crisp in the morning, now hangs loose outside her black slacks. A gray trench coat falls open as she moves, hair tucked behind her ears, slightly disheveled from hours of tense meetings. She looks less like a multimillionaire CEO and more like a tired analyst, exactly as intended. She stops suddenly. A flicker of dim light dances across the far wall, soft and irregular, almost like candlelight, coming from the corner near the security booth. Charlotte frowns slightly and turns toward it. As she draws closer, the light becomes clearer. A flashlight, old and flickering, propped against a thermos. Its narrow beam illuminates a battered textbook and a man hunched over it, brow furrowed in concentration. He's in his late 20s with dark hair and a quiet presence. His Navy security jacket is unzipped, revealing a simple hoodie beneath. He moves with care, flipping pages, taking notes in a composition notebook that has clearly seen better days. A pair of earbuds dangles unused around his neck. Charlotte stops a few steps away, arms crossed loosely. The quiet in the garage feels almost sacred. "You always work under that light?" she asks gently. The man startles, hand moving instinctively toward the flashlight. He squints at her, then quickly stands straight. "I didn't hear you. Sorry, ma'am." He glances at his book, then back to her. "I was just studying during my break." Charlotte raises a brow, nodding toward the book. "Looks like more than just studying. That's advanced C++. The man looks at the cover, then back at her with slight surprise. "Yeah, I'm trying to finish a certification. I used to be in school, but..." He shrugs, leaving the sentence unfinished. "I'm Charlotte," she says simply, offering no title. "Caleb," he replies with a nod. "Caleb Miller." Charlotte glances again at the flashlight. "That thing's barely hanging on." He smiles faintly. "I make it work." Something about him reminds her of someone. Her father, maybe. He used to work 12-hour days at his small business, then come home and study engineering textbooks late into the night. "I know it's none of my business," she says quietly, "but what's driving you to do this? Most people would be watching videos or sleeping during their break." Caleb hesitates, then gestures vaguely. "My sister's about to start college. I promised her I'd go back too. Do something better." Charlotte nods, her throat tightening just a little. She steps forward, placing something gently on the edge of his table, a protein bar from her coat pocket, and, after rummaging in her bag, a small worn book. Understanding Algorithms, a practical guide. Caleb looks down, startled. "You don't have to." "I know," she interrupts softly, "but I want to." For a moment, neither speaks. Charlotte gives a half smile, then turns to go. As she reaches her car, she calls back over her shoulder, her voice low but certain. "Not everyone sees value where it is right now, but that doesn't mean it's not there." She steps inside her car and drives off, leaving behind the quiet hum of fluorescent lights and a man staring down at a book left by someone who saw something more in him than a uniform. The next morning, Charlotte sits in a sleek corner office on the 40th floor, gazing out at the New York skyline. Gone is the disheveled analyst from last night. Now she wears a tailored navy suit, hair perfectly styled, as she reviews quarterly reports. A soft knock interrupts her concentration. "Your 9 o'clock is here, Ms. Hayes," her assistant announces. Marcus Reynolds enters, tall, impeccably dressed, with the confident smile of someone used to getting his way. At 40, he's the executive director of the New York branch and carries himself with the assurance of a man who knows his worth. Charlotte, he greets warmly, leaning in for a brief embrace. It's been too long. Marcus, her smile is professional but reserved. Thank you for making time. He takes a seat across from her. For my favorite consultant? Always. Though I'm surprised Hayes Group would send someone with your expertise for a routine evaluation. Charlotte maintains her cover story. The CEO is concerned about the quarterly numbers. I'm here to find out why this branch is underperforming. Marcus's smile tightens slightly. Just market fluctuations. Nothing my restructuring plan won't fix. The one that cuts 30% of your workforce? Difficult times require difficult decisions. He leans forward. Charlotte, we've known each other for years. Trust me on this. She nods non-committally. I'll need access to all departments, including security logs and email servers. A flash of something, annoyance, concern, crosses his face before his smile returns. Of course, whatever you need. After Marcus leaves, Charlotte pulls up the branch's security footage from the past month. Something about the data leak that cost Hayes Group a $50 million contract feels wrong. The information was too specific, too targeted, and it happened right after she rejected Marcus's proposal to become chief operating officer. She zooms in on the parking garage footage from last night, watching herself speak with Caleb. An idea begins to form. Later that day, Charlotte observes the security team from the employee lounge. Most guards chat among themselves during shift change, but Caleb sits apart, reviewing procedures and checking equipment thoroughly. When an elderly janitor struggles with a heavy cart, Caleb immediately helps without being asked, guiding it up a small ramp before returning to his post. Charlotte follows when Caleb begins his rounds. From a distance, she watches him methodically check each floor, noting how he stops to help a lost delivery person, picks up scattered papers from a fallen folder, and adjusts a crooked emergency exit sign. He's thorough, conscientious, and completely unaware of her presence. As he rounds a corner, Charlotte nearly bumps into another security guard. "Looking for something, ma'am?" the guard asks, suspicious. "Just familiarizing myself with the building layout," she replies smoothly. "I'm Charlotte, consulting for management." "Right." The guard looks unconvinced. "You've been following Miller for 20 minutes. Charlotte raises an eyebrow. "You noticed. Good security awareness. Does Mr. Miller always perform his duties so thoroughly?" The guard snorts. "Caleb? Yeah, he's our Boy Scout. Does everything by the book and then some. Kind of annoying, actually." "How so?" "Always volunteering for extra shifts, creating better patrol schedules, writing up detailed incident reports." He shrugs. "Makes the rest of us look bad. But between us, guy's got a record. Hacked his university system or something. Only got this job because the manager took pity on him." Charlotte's interest sharpens. "Really? He doesn't seem the type." "That's what they all say until their system gets wiped." The guard smirks. "Anyway, restricted areas are off limits without proper clearance, even for consultants." After he walks away, Charlotte finds her way to the employee break room. In a corner, Caleb sits alone, laptop open, focused intently on the screen. She approaches casually, getting coffee from the nearby machine. "We meet again," she says. Caleb looks up, recognition flashing across his face. "Oh, hello." He quickly minimizes whatever he's working on. Charlotte glances at his screen. "Programming during your break too?" He hesitates, then nods. "Just a small project, an app to help kids in my neighborhood learn basic coding." "May I?" She gestures to the chair opposite him. When he nods, she sits and asks about his app. His initial reluctance melts away as he explains his vision. A simple, gamified platform that teaches programming fundamentals without requiring expensive equipment or previous knowledge. "Most kids in my area can't afford coding camps or fancy computers," he explains, animation creeping into his usually reserved demeanor. "But almost everyone has access to a phone or a school tablet. This app works on anything with a browser." "That's impressive," Charlotte says genuinely. "How did you learn all this?" A shadow crosses his face. 2 years of computer science before I had to drop out. The rest is self-taught." "Because of your sister?" "Partly. He pauses, weighing how much to share. Our parents died in a car accident 3 years ago. Medical bills, funeral costs. It wiped out their savings. Lily was still in high school. Someone had to keep things afloat. Charlotte's professional demeanor softens. I'm sorry. Caleb shrugs, uncomfortable with sympathy. It is what it is. Lily got a scholarship for college. That's what matters. And what about you? What matters to you? He looks at her, surprised by the question. Keeping my promises. I told Lily we'd both get our degrees. It's just taking me the scenic route. Charlotte notices how he deflects attention from himself, minimizing his own sacrifices. Before she can respond, his break timer beeps. Duty calls, he says, closing his laptop. One more thing. Charlotte stops him. I've been having trouble with my laptop. It says it's not worth fixing, but I need it for a presentation tomorrow. I heard you're good with computers. Caleb hesitates. I don't have proper tools here. I understand. She pulls out an older model laptop. But if you could take a look, I'd really appreciate it. No pressure. After a moment's consideration, he takes the machine. I'll see what I can do. What Caleb doesn't know, the laptop contains encrypted files related to the data leak, carefully prepared by Charlotte as a test. Not of his technical skills, but of his character. That evening, Caleb arrives at his small Bronx apartment, the borrowed laptop tucked under his arm. The two-bedroom unit is modest but meticulously organized, every space maximized, every item with its place. Books line milk crates repurposed as shelves. A small desk houses a second-hand computer, and the walls are decorated with Lily's academic certificates and awards. He sets his keys in a bowl by the door and finds a note on the refrigerator. Late study group, food and microwave. Love you, L. Caleb heats up the simple pasta dish Lily prepared and sits at their small kitchen table. He powers on Charlotte's laptop, immediately noticing its sluggish response. As it boots up, he pulls out a small toolkit from a drawer and begins methodically examining the machine. The apartment door opens and Lily enters, 18, bright-eyed despite her obvious fatigue, carrying a backpack heavy with textbooks. She's a younger, more animated version of her brother, with the same dark hair and determined eyes. You're still up, she notes, dropping her backpack on a chair. And working on, that's not your laptop. Belongs to someone at work, Caleb explains, not looking up from the screen. Having some issues. Lily peers over his shoulder. Since when do you fix executives' computers? Isn't that what their overpaid IT department is for? She's not an executive, just a consultant. He pauses. She gave me that algorithms book. Lily's eyebrows shoot up with interest. She? The mysterious woman who left you a protein bar? The one you've mentioned approximately 7 times since yesterday? Caleb gives her a look. 3 times, Max. 5, but who's counting? Lily grins, pulling up a chair. So tell me about this non-executive consultant who gives you books and broken laptops. Nothing to tell. She's just different. Caleb struggles to find the right words. She noticed what I was studying, actually seemed interested. Attractive? That's not, Caleb sighs. Yes, but that's not the point. Lily's smile grows. When do I get to meet her? Never if I can help it. He focuses back on the laptop. Don't you have an organic chemistry test tomorrow? Changing the subject, noted. Lily stands, squeezing his shoulder affectionately. Don't stay up all night playing computer doctor. Some of us need our beauty sleep. After she leaves, Caleb immerses himself in diagnosing the laptop's issues. He cleans the internal fans, checks the memory configuration, and runs diagnostic tests. Hours pass as he methodically works through each problem, making notes in his precise handwriting. Around 3 a.m., after fixing the hardware issues, he notices something odd in the system logs. Encrypted files with unusual access patterns. His fingers hover over the keyboard, tempted to investigate further. Professional curiosity wars with ethical boundaries. After a moment's hesitation, he closes the log viewer. Not my business, he murmurs, turning instead to optimizing the system settings. By dawn, dark circles frame his eyes, but satisfaction brightens his expression. The laptop now runs smoothly, its performance dramatically improved. He powers it down and carefully packs it up, adding a small note. Fixed performance issues, updated drivers, removed bloatware, hope it helps. CM. Uishais? Spin. He doesn't mention the encrypted files. Some boundaries shouldn't be crossed, no matter how curious he might be. The following afternoon, Charlotte sits in a meeting with department heads as Marcus presents his restructuring plan. The conference room buzzes with tension as he outlines substantial cuts to customer service and technical support. These reductions will increase quarterly profits by 12%, Marcus concludes confidently. Any questions? From the back of the room, Charlotte speaks up. What about the impact on service quality? Our latest customer satisfaction scores are already down. Marcus's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Short-term adjustments for long-term gains. The market will understand. And the employees who lose their jobs, will they understand? A tense silence falls over the room. Marcus clears his throat. Sometimes leadership requires difficult decisions, Charlotte. I'm sure the CEO would agree. She holds his gaze. I'm not so sure about that. After the meeting, Charlotte returns to her temporary office to find her laptop on the desk with Caleb's note. She powers it on, immediately noticing the improved performance. Opening the diagnostic software she had installed, she confirms what she suspected. Caleb had noticed the encrypted files but hadn't attempted to access them. She smiles to herself. The first test passed. Later that evening, she deliberately times her departure to coincide with Caleb's shift. She finds him at his post near the garage entrance, reading the algorithm book she gave him. You fixed it, she says, approaching with the laptop in hand. Caleb looks up, straightening his posture. It wasn't that complicated, just needed some maintenance and optimization. It said it was beyond repair. He shrugs. They probably didn't have time to troubleshoot properly. It's an older model, but still perfectly functional. Charlotte opens it, showing him the dramatically improved performance. This is impressive work. How long did it take you? A few hours. He doesn't mention staying up all night. She studies him, noting the faint shadows under his eyes that betray his casual response. Well, I appreciate it. You saved me a lot of trouble. Raindrops begin to hit the garage entrance, quickly intensifying into a downpour. Charlotte glances at her car across the open section of the garage. Looks like I picked the wrong day to park far away, she remarks. Without hesitation, Caleb unzips his security jacket and holds it out. Take this. You'll get soaked. I couldn't, please, he insists. I'm here all night anyway. Charlotte accepts the jacket, surprised by the gesture. As she slips it on, she's struck by its warmth and the faint scent of coffee and simple soap. Thank you, Caleb. She pauses, then adds, not everyone would offer their only jacket to a stranger. We're not exactly strangers anymore. His eyes meet hers briefly before looking away. Besides, not everyone sees value where it is right now, but that doesn't mean it's not there. Oh, Charlotte stares at him, startled to hear her own words from the previous night. You remembered that? A small smile touches his lips. Some things stick with you. As Charlotte drives home through the rain, still wearing Caleb's jacket, she finds herself increasingly intrigued by the security guard who fixes computers, creates educational apps, and quotes her words back to her with perfect recall. For the first time in years, she feels something shift in her carefully constructed professional barriers. The next morning, Charlotte arrives early at Hayes Group, determined to learn more about Caleb Miller. She accesses the HR database under the guise of her evaluation, pulling up his employment file. The basic information confirms what she already knows. 28 years old, high school diploma, 2 years at City University, studying computer science before withdrawing. Previous jobs include retail, warehouse work, and freelance computer repair. References describe him as reliable, honest, and overqualified. Then she finds the flag in his background check, an arrest record from 3 years ago. Unauthorized access to university computer systems. No charges filed, but the incident resulted in his expulsion. Charlotte frowns, digging deeper. The university's internal report provides more context. Multiple security breaches detected over a weekend, affecting student records and financial aid systems. Caleb admitted responsibility when campus security identified his access credentials, claiming he discovered a vulnerability that hackers were exploiting to steal student data. University officials dismissed his explanation as an attempt to avoid consequences. The report concludes, subjects showed no remorse for actions, maintaining the false narrative of attempting to help, recommended expulsion and possible criminal charges. Yet the district attorney declined to prosecute, citing insufficient evidence of malicious intent. The case was closed, but the damage to Caleb's academic career was done. Charlotte leans back, considering this new information. It contradicts everything she's observed about Caleb: his integrity, his careful adherence to rules, his reluctance to even examine encrypted files on her laptop. Her thoughts are interrupted by a notification on her phone, a message from her private investigator about Marcus Reynolds. The attached documents reveal a pattern of Marcus contacting Hexagon Technologies, Hayes Group's main competitor, from his personal email. The timing aligns perfectly with the leaked information that cost Hayes Group the major contract. Charlotte now has two mysteries to solve: Marcus's apparent betrayal and Caleb's true character. She's beginning to suspect they might be connected. That afternoon, Charlotte arranges to accidentally encounter Caleb during his break. She finds him in a corner of the employee cafeteria, laptop open, focused on his coding project. "Mind if I join you?" she asks, setting down her coffee. He looks up, surprised but not displeased. "Of course not." As she takes a seat, Charlotte notices he's wearing a different jacket today. Older, slightly too small. "Working on your app again?" Caleb nods, turning the screen slightly so she can see. "Just fixing some bugs in the interface. It needs to be intuitive enough for kids who've never coded before." "May I?" She gestures to the laptop. When he nods, she takes it and navigates through the app's interface. Despite its unfinished state, the program is impressively well designed, clean, engaging, with game elements that make learning feel like play. "This is remarkable," she says sincerely. "You built this yourself?" "Mostly, some open source components." He watches her test the functions, his usual reserve giving way to enthusiasm as he explains how different modules work. Charlotte returns the laptop. "Have you considered developing this commercially? There's a huge market for educational technology." Caleb shakes his head. "It's not about making money. It's about access. Kids in my neighborhood don't have the resources that more affluent communities take for granted." "So you're just giving it away?" "That's the plan. Once it's finished." Charlotte studies him. "I read your file, Caleb." His expression immediately closes. "I see. The incident at the university. I should get back to my post." He starts to pack up his laptop. "I don't think you did what they accused you of," Charlotte says quietly. Caleb pauses, looking at her with surprise. "You don't know me." "I'm starting to." She holds his gaze. "Tell me what really happened." For a long moment, he says nothing. Then, with a resigned sigh, he sits back down. "The system had vulnerabilities. I discovered them while working on a project for class. Someone was exploiting them to access student financial information." His voice remains level, but his hands tighten around his coffee cup. "I tried reporting it through proper channels, but IT dismissed it, said their security was top-notch." "So you took matters into your own hands." "I patched the vulnerability myself, blocked the hackers, secured the data." A flash of old anger crosses his face. "And got expelled for my trouble. Nobody believed me, not the administration, not campus security. They needed a scapegoat, and the scholarship kid with unusual access patterns fit the bill perfectly. But the charges were dropped, only because they couldn't prove malicious intent." Caleb's laugh holds no humor. "Hard to prove something that never existed." Charlotte nods slowly. "And your parents' accident happened around the same time?" 3 weeks later. His expression grows distant. "Dad was driving Mom home from her second job. Truck driver fell asleep at the wheel. They spent 2 weeks in intensive care before..." He stops, the memory still raw. "The medical bills came just as I lost my scholarship and campus job. Perfect storm." "So you dropped out to take care of your sister and pay the bills." Lily was 17, about to graduate high school with a full ride to NYU. Pride briefly overtakes the pain in his voice. "Someone had to keep the lights on." Make sure she got her chance. And your chance got put on hold. Caleb shrugs. Life happens. You adjust. Charlotte is quiet for a moment, struck by his matter-of-fact acceptance of how unfairly life had treated him. The app you're building, it's for kids like you were, isn't it? So they don't miss their chance. He looks at her, surprised by her perception. Something like that. Before Charlotte can respond, her phone buzzes. An alert that Marcus is accessing sensitive financial files from his office. She needs to move quickly. I have to go. She stands, then hesitates. Thank you for telling me the truth. Why does it matter to you? Caleb asks, genuine curiosity in his voice. Charlotte considers her answer carefully. Not everyone sees value where it is right now, but that doesn't mean it's not there. She smiles slightly. Someone smart told me that recently. As she walks away, Charlotte feels more certain than ever. Caleb Miller is exactly the kind of person Hayes Group needs, and exactly the kind of person who could help her uncover what Marcus Reynolds is really doing. The storm that began the previous day intensifies by evening, rain hammering against the windows of the Hayes Group building. Most employees have left early to beat the worsening weather, but lights still burn in Marcus's top-floor office. Charlotte, monitoring remotely from her hotel room, watches as Marcus downloads proprietary information about an upcoming product launch. She records his actions as evidence, then makes a decision. It's time to accelerate her plan. She drives back to the office through sheets of rain, arriving just as the power flickers from a lightning strike. The backup generators kick in immediately, but the momentary darkness is enough to disrupt the surveillance system, giving Charlotte a brief window to move undetected. The parking garage is eerily quiet, emergency lights casting strange shadows across the concrete. Charlotte makes her way to Caleb's security station, finding him methodically checking systems affected by the power surge. Charlotte? He looks up surprised. You shouldn't be here. We're operating on emergency protocols. I need your help. She glances around to ensure they're alone. It's important. Caleb's expression grows serious. What's wrong? I'm not a consultant, Charlotte admits. I'm Charlotte Hayes, CEO of Hayes Group. His eyes widen. What? But why would you? I've been investigating a data leak that cost us a major contract. I believe Marcus Reynolds is selling company secrets to our competitors. She holds out a flash drive. I need someone I can trust to help me secure the evidence. Caleb stares at the flash drive, then back at her face. Why me? You have an entire cybersecurity team. Because you fixed my laptop without accessing the encrypted files. Because you built an app to help kids in your neighborhood instead of monetizing your skills. Because when you found a security vulnerability at your university, your first instinct was to protect the system, not exploit it. Charlotte's voice softens. Because in a world where everyone looks out for themselves, you consistently put others first. Thunder crashes outside, making the lights flicker again. Caleb takes a deep breath, weighing his options. Finally, he accepts the flash drive. What do you need me to do? Access Marcus's computer remotely and mirror his activities for the next hour. He's planning to transfer more files tonight. Charlotte explains the technical details. Can you do it without being detected? Caleb nods slowly. I'll need to use the security office computers. More processing power. They make their way through darkened corridors to the security hub, where multiple monitors display feeds from throughout the building. Caleb sits at the main terminal, fingers flying across the keyboard as he establishes a secure connection. I'm in, he says after several tense minutes. Mirroring his session now, Charlotte watches over his shoulder as Marcus's desktop appears on the screen. They observe in silence as he accesses restricted databases, compiles customer information, and prepares to send it to an external email address. That's Hexagon Technologies' VP of Acquisition, Charlotte murmurs. We need to catch him in the act. Just as Marcus prepares to send the email, the office door behind them opens. Charlotte and Caleb turn to find the security guard from earlier, the one who had mentioned Caleb's past. What's going on here? The guard demands, eyes narrowing at the screen showing Marcus's activities. Miller, you know accessing executive computers is grounds for immediate termination. It's not what it looks like, Caleb begins. I authorize this, Charlotte interrupts. I'm Charlotte Hayes, CEO of Hayes Group. The guard scoffs. Right, and I'm the Queen of England. Charlotte straightens, her voice taking on the commanding tone she uses in boardrooms. Call building security, have them verify my identity. Or better yet, call Marcus Reynolds and ask him why he's sending confidential company information to our competitors. The guard hesitates, looking between them and the screen where Marcus's actions are clearly visible. I need to report this. To whom? Charlotte challenges. The man currently committing corporate espionage? A tense standoff follows, broken when Caleb's monitoring software alerts them that Marcus has sent the email. The evidence is now complete. We've got him, Charlotte says, turning to the guard. Now you have a choice to make. Help us stop a criminal or become an accomplice. The guard's resistance crumbles under her authoritative stare. What do you need me to do? Lock down the building. No one enters or leaves until I say so. Charlotte turns to Caleb. Send copies of everything to my secure server, then meet me in the executive conference room. It's time to confront Marcus. As Caleb works, Charlotte places a call to Hayes Group's head of security and legal counsel, briefing them on the situation. By the time she finishes, Caleb has compiled all the evidence and secured it on multiple devices. Ready? She asks. He nods, though uncertainty flickers in his eyes. Are you sure you want me there? I'm just a security guard. Charlotte regards him steadily. You're the one who made this possible. Besides, she adds with a small smile, I think it's time everyone saw what I see when I look at you. Together they head toward the elevators, the storm still raging outside. As they ascend to the executive floor, Charlotte notices Caleb's reflection in the polished doors. Straight-backed, determined. No longer just a man in a uniform, but someone stepping into his potential. The elevator doors open to reveal a dimly lit corridor leading to the executive suite. Marcus's voice drifts from the conference room, apparently on a phone call. Charlotte and Caleb exchange a glance before approaching the partially open door. Deal's done, Marcus is saying. Hayes won't know what hit them until it's too late. By this time next week, I'll be sitting in Charlotte's office, and you'll have everything you need to crush their new product line. Charlotte pushes the door open fully. I wouldn't be so sure about that, Marcus. He whirls around, phone still in hand, face draining of color as he sees her. Charlotte, what are you doing here? I thought you were in Boston for the board meeting? That's tomorrow. Her voice is ice. Just in time for me to present evidence of your betrayal. Marcus's eyes dart to Caleb, recognition and confusion battling in his expression. What's the security guard doing here? Mr. Miller has been instrumental in uncovering your activities. Charlotte nods to Caleb, who connects a laptop to the conference room's display system, bringing up the evidence they've gathered. Marcus watches, his confident facade crumbling as email after email, file transfer after file transfer appears on the screen. He attempts one last bluff. This is all a misunderstanding. I was conducting a security test. Save it for the lawyers, Charlotte interrupts. Security is on their way up to escort you from the building. Your access has been revoked, and the board has been notified. As if on cue, two security officers enter the room. Marcus's expression hardens as he looks from Charlotte to Caleb. You'll regret this, he says quietly. Both of you. After Marcus is escorted out, Charlotte turns to Caleb, the adrenaline of confrontation fading into exhausted relief. Thank you. I couldn't have done this without you. Caleb shakes his head. You would have found another way. You're... What? She prompts when he doesn't continue. Determined, fearless. A hint of admiration colors his voice. Nothing like what I expected a CEO to be. Charlotte laughs softly. I could say the same about what I expected from a security guard. Outside, the storm begins to subside, rain softening to a gentle patter against the windows. In the conference room high above the city, CEO and security guard share a moment of quiet connection, neither quite ready to acknowledge how much has changed in just a few short days. What happens now? Caleb finally asks. Charlotte looks at him thoughtfully. Now we build something better. She extends her hand. I think this is the beginning of a very interesting partnership, Mr. Miller. Caleb hesitates only briefly before taking her hand, his grip firm and steady. I think you might be right, Ms. Hayes. As dawn breaks over New York City, casting golden light through the windows of the Hayes Group building, neither of them can yet imagine just how far this partnership will take them, or the challenges they'll face along the way. But in this moment, with trust newly formed and possibilities stretching before them, one thing is certain: something important has begun. 2 weeks after Marcus Reynolds' dismissal, the Hayes Group headquarters buzzes with renewed energy. Charlotte has temporarily relocated her office to the New York branch, personally overseeing the transition as she implements a more transparent leadership structure. The restructuring plan that would have eliminated dozens of jobs has been replaced with a strategic reinvestment in talent and innovation. In a glass-walled conference room, Charlotte addresses department heads about her vision for the company's future. Her presentation concludes with a slide titled Internal Talent Development Initiative. "We've been looking outside for solutions when our greatest assets are already here," she explains. "Starting next month, we'll implement a program to identify and develop employees with exceptional potential, regardless of their current position or educational background." After the meeting, Charlotte's assistant approaches her. "Ms. Hayes, the security team leader, is here about the special project you requested." Charlotte nods. "Send him in." Caleb enters, now dressed in business casual attire instead of his security uniform. The past 2 weeks have subtly transformed him, his posture more confident, his gaze more direct, though he still carries himself with the same thoughtful reserve. "The preliminary security audit is complete," he reports, placing a tablet on her desk. "I found 17 vulnerabilities in our network infrastructure, 5 of which are critical. I've outlined recommendations for each." Charlotte reviews his findings, impressed by the thoroughness of his analysis. "This is excellent work, Caleb, exactly what I needed. Thank you for the opportunity." He hesitates. "Though I'm still not sure why you chose me for this. Your cybersecurity team is top-notch." "They are, but they think like specialists trained to defend existing systems." Charlotte looks up at him. "You think like someone who's had to create solutions with limited resources. That perspective is invaluable." A knock interrupts them as Charlotte's assistant returns. "Sorry to disturb you, Mrs. Hayes, but the board is waiting for your video call." "Of course," Charlotte stands. "Caleb, I'd like you to continue this audit. Full access to all systems, no restrictions. Report directly to me with your findings." After he leaves, Charlotte joins the video call with the Hayes Group Board of Directors, 8 stern faces on the large conference room screen. Their expressions range from curious to skeptical. "Charlotte," Gregory Wilson begins, his silver hair and impeccable suit projecting old money authority. As the board's longest-serving member and her father's oldest friend, he carries significant influence. "We've reviewed your preliminary report on the New York situation. While we applaud your handling of the Reynolds matter, some of us have concerns about your extended stay there. The transition requires hands-on leadership." Charlotte responds evenly. "And this security guard you've mentioned, Miller?" Gregory raises an eyebrow. "You've given him unprecedented access to our systems." Mr. Miller was instrumental in uncovering Marcus's activities. His technical skills are exceptional. Another board member leans forward. "His background check shows an arrest record. Hacking, was it not?" "A misunderstanding that was resolved without charges," Charlotte counters. "He discovered and patched a security vulnerability that the university's IT department had missed. Instead of recognition, he received expulsion." "Sounds familiar," Gregory murmurs, a knowing look passing between them. Charlotte's father had faced similar skepticism decades ago when building the company without formal credentials. Nevertheless, another director interjects, "Elevating someone from security to cybersecurity consultant is unusual. Some might see it as preferential treatment." Charlotte maintains her professional demeanor, though her voice takes on a sharper edge. "I make personnel decisions based on merit, not perception. Mr. Miller has already identified critical vulnerabilities that our regular team overlooked. I stand by my decision." "We trust your judgment, Charlotte," Gregory concludes, though his tone suggests the matter isn't closed. "We look forward to your return to headquarters next week." After the call ends, Charlotte remains in the empty conference room, gazing out at the New York skyline. She hadn't mentioned her developing plans for Caleb or the internal talent initiative she designed with him in mind. The board was traditional, resistant to change. They would need more convincing. Her phone buzzes with a message from Caleb. "Found something concerning in the email server logs. Available to discuss when you're ready." Charlotte heads to the small office she's provided him for the security audit. She finds him surrounded by multiple screens displaying code and network diagrams, completely absorbed in his work. "What did you find?" she asks. Caleb looks up, his focus shifting to her. Someone's still accessing sensitive information. Different account from Marcus, but similar patterns. He shows her the logs, evidence of another potential security breach. The access points are masked, but I've narrowed it down to the executive floor. Charlotte frowns. Marcus had accomplices? Possibly. Caleb runs a hand through his hair, a rare gesture of frustration. Or someone taking advantage of the chaos during his departure. How do we identify them? I'm setting up monitoring protocols that should catch them in the act. He hesitates. It would be faster with more resources. Charlotte studies him for a moment, then makes a decision. You'll have them. I'm appointing you acting head of cybersecurity for the New York branch. Effective immediately. Caleb's eyes widen. What? But I don't have the qualifications. You have exactly the qualifications I need right now. Skill, integrity, and first-hand experience with our vulnerabilities. Charlotte's tone makes it clear this isn't up for debate. The current team will report to you until we identify the remaining security threats. People will talk, Caleb warns quietly. A security guard promoted to department head in less than a month. Let them talk. Charlotte meets his gaze steadily. I don't make decisions based on office gossip. Later that evening, Charlotte returns to her hotel, mentally exhausted from back-to-back meetings. As she reviews emails, a notification appears. An alert from the monitoring system Caleb implemented. Someone is accessing the server right now. She immediately calls Caleb. Are you seeing this? Yes, he confirms. I'm tracking them in real time. They're going after the new product designs. Can you block them? Better. Termination fills his voice. I can identify them. I've isolated their access point to a specific terminal. If you can get security to that location, we can catch them red-handed. Charlotte makes the call, directing security to the executive floor while keeping Caleb on the line. Minutes later, she hears commotion in the background. Did they get them? She asks tensely. Yes. Caleb sounds shocked. It's Andrea Pierce, Marcus's executive assistant. Charlotte closes her eyes briefly. Andrea, efficient, unassuming, practically invisible in meetings. The perfect accomplice. Bring her to my office. I'm on my way. By the time Charlotte arrives, security has Andrea seated in the conference room. The woman's normally perfect appearance is disheveled, her expression alternating between defiance and fear. Why? Charlotte asks simply, taking a seat across from her. Andrea lifts her chin. Loyalty, something you wouldn't understand. Loyalty to Marcus or to Hexagon Technologies payroll? Both. Andrea's laugh is bitter. 15 years I worked for Hayes Group. 15 years of being overlooked, underpaid, undervalued. Marcus recognized my worth. By asking you to commit corporate espionage? By offering me a real future? Andrea's eyes flash. Not everyone has your privileges, Ms. Hayes. Some of us have to create our own opportunities. Charlotte studies the woman, recognizing the resentment of someone who felt the system had failed them. You're right. The company should have recognized your potential long ago. That's a failure I intend to correct for others. She stands, but it doesn't excuse betraying the people who work here. After security escorts Andrea away, Charlotte finds Caleb waiting outside her office, concern evident in his expression. You okay? He asked quietly. Just thinking about how many Andreas we might have, talented people feeling overlooked until someone like Marcus offers them recognition, even if it's for the wrong reasons. She sighs. We need to do better. That's why your talent initiative matters, Caleb points out. It could change that dynamic. Charlotte looks at him with renewed determination. You're right, and I think it's time to accelerate those plans. The following day, Charlotte calls an all-hands meeting in the company auditorium. Employees fill the seats, buzzing with speculation about the announcement. Charlotte takes the stage, Caleb and other department heads seated behind her. For too long, Hayes Group has operated under an outdated model, she begins. We've valued credentials over capabilities, seniority over innovation, and in the process, we've overlooked our greatest resource, you. She outlines a new internal talent development initiative, explaining how employees at any level can apply for specialized training and advancement opportunities based on demonstrated skills rather than traditional qualifications. To lead this initiative, I'm creating a new position, Director of Talent Development and Innovation. Charlotte gestures to Caleb, inviting him to join her at the podium. I'm pleased to announce Caleb Miller as our first appointee to this role. Murmurs ripple through the audience as Caleb steps forward. Most employees know him only as a security guard, making his elevation to a director-level position unprecedented. Some of you may be wondering why I've selected Mr. Miller, Charlotte continues. 3 weeks ago, when this branch was facing serious security breaches, Caleb demonstrated exceptional technical skills, ethical judgment, and innovative thinking that ultimately saved this company millions of dollars. He did this not because it was his job, but because he saw a problem he could solve. Caleb takes the microphone, his natural reserve evident in his brief hesitation before speaking. Thank you, Ms. Hayes. I understand many of you might be skeptical. 3 weeks ago, I was checking IDs at the front desk and patrolling the parking garage. But before that, I was a computer science student with a passion for technology and education. His voice grows stronger as he continues. Life sometimes takes unexpected turns. For me, it was family tragedy and financial hardship that derailed my education. For others, it might be lack of opportunity, financial barriers, or simply not fitting the traditional mold. This initiative is about recognizing that talent doesn't always come in expected packages. As he outlines his vision for the program, Charlotte observes the audience. Some faces show skepticism, others interest, and a surprising number, particularly among junior staff, display hope. After the meeting, Charlotte overhears conversations as employees file out. A security guard as director? What's next? The janitor as CFO? I don't know, man. His story's pretty compelling, and I heard he was the one who caught that exec stealing company data. I'm definitely applying for that programming track. Been trying to get into the IT department for years. Charlotte smiles to herself. The seed has been planted. Change won't happen overnight, but it has begun. Later that afternoon, she finds Caleb in his new office, already at work developing the initiative's framework. Quite a change from the security desk, she observes. He looks around the space, still appearing slightly uncomfortable with his new status. Definitely an upgrade from the parking garage. Any regrets about accepting the position? Caleb considers this. No, but I'm under no illusions about the challenges ahead. Not everyone is thrilled with my appointment. Innovation rarely comes without resistance. Charlotte takes a seat across from his desk. There's something else I want to discuss with you. The board has requested I return to headquarters next week. Of course. He nods, face carefully neutral. You've stabilized the situation here. I have, but this initiative is just beginning, and I want to ensure its success. She leans forward slightly. I'd like you to accompany me to Boston. Present the program to the board personally. Caleb's eyebrows rise in surprise. You want me to address the board of directors? They need to hear directly from you. See what I see. Charlotte holds his gaze. The future of this initiative depends on their support. The weight of this responsibility registers in his expression. When do we leave? Monday morning. Charlotte stands to leave, then pauses at the door. One more thing. There's a charity gala tomorrow night. Annual event for major shareholders and executives. As our new director, your presence would be appropriate. I don't own a tuxedo, he points out pragmatically. Charlotte smiles. Company account at Brooks Brothers. Consider it your official welcome to the executive team. The following evening, the grand ballroom of the Carlyle Hotel glitters with New York's business elite. Charlotte moves through the crowd with practiced ease, exchanging pleasantries with shareholders and industry peers. She wears a midnight blue gown, elegant but understated, her authority evident in her bearing rather than ostentation. She scans the room for Caleb, finally spotting him near the entrance. The transformation is striking. The Brooks Brothers tuxedo fits him perfectly, his usual utilitarian appearance replaced by unexpected sophistication. Yet he still stands slightly apart from the crowd, observing rather than participating. Charlotte makes her way to him. You clean up well, Director Miller. Thanks to your tailor recommendation. He offers a small smile. You look remarkable. High praise from someone who's usually so measured with compliments. She gestures toward the gathering. How are you finding your first executive function? Illuminating. Caleb's gaze sweeps the room. Amazing how different people act when they think you belong in their circle. And do you belong? He considers this. I'm not sure anyone really belongs in artificially constructed social hierarchies, but I'm adapting. His philosophical response makes Charlotte laugh. Most people would just say they feel out of place. Would you prefer I was less honest? Never. Her expression softens. Your perspective is precisely why you're valuable. You see things differently. Their conversation is interrupted by Gregory Wilson, approaching with deliberate casualness. Charlotte, my dear, always the brightest light in the room. Gregory. She accepts his brief embrace. May I introduce Caleb Miller, our new Director of Talent Development. Gregory studies Caleb with the shrewd assessment of someone who has evaluated thousands of people throughout his career. Ah, the security guard with the exceptional technical skills. Charlotte has spoken highly of you. Mr. Wilson, Caleb shakes his hand firmly. I understand you were a close friend of her father's. James Hayes was like a brother to me. Gregory's expression grows nostalgic. We built our first circuit boards in his mother's garage. Everyone said we were wasting our time. Two college dropouts with big dreams. And now Hayes Group is a Fortune 500 company, Caleb observes. Indeed. Gregory's attention returns to Charlotte. James would be proud of you, my dear. Taking risks, just like he did. The subtle emphasis on risks doesn't escape either Charlotte or Caleb. Before the conversation can continue, they're interrupted by a commotion near the entrance. Heads turn as a familiar figure enters. Marcus Reynolds, impeccably dressed and radiating confidence despite his recent dismissal. What is he doing here? Charlotte murmurs, tension immediately visible in her posture. Still holds shares in the company, Gregory explains. Technically, he has a right to attend. Marcus makes his way through the crowd, stopping to speak with various executives and shareholders. His charm offensive is evident, smiling, laughing, clasping shoulders with false camaraderie. He's working the room, Caleb observes. Damage control. Or laying groundwork for something else, Charlotte adds, watching as Marcus approaches a group of board members. Throughout the evening, Charlotte maintains her professional composure, but Caleb notices how her eyes track Marcus's movements. When Marcus finally approaches them, his smile doesn't reach his eyes. Charlotte, lovely as always. His gaze shifts to Caleb, recognition and disdain flashing across his features. And the security guard, moving up in the world, I see. Director of Talent Development now, Charlotte corrects smoothly. Mr. Miller has been instrumental in our new strategic initiative. How innovative. Marcus's tone makes the word an insult. The board must be thrilled with such unconventional appointments. Change often meets resistance before acceptance, Charlotte replies evenly. Something you should understand, given your current circumstances. Marcus's smile tightens. Speaking of circumstances, I've been having the most interesting conversations tonight. Seems some of our shareholders have concerns about the company's direction. He leans closer, lowering his voice. Elevating unqualified personnel, neglecting core business functions in favor of feel-good initiatives. People are talking, Charlotte. People always talk, Marcus. The difference is whether they have anything worthwhile to say. Charlotte maintains her poise, though Caleb notices her knuckles whitening around her champagne glass. Just friendly advice from someone who still has the company's best interests at heart. Marcus nods to them both before moving on. Enjoy your evening. Once he's out of earshot, Caleb turns to Charlotte. He's planning something. Of course he is. Charlotte's expression is calculating. He's trying to undermine confidence in my leadership before the board meeting. Classic Marcus. If he can't win directly, he changes the playing field. He specifically targeted your decision to promote me because it's the most visible departure from traditional corporate structure. She shakes her head. Don't let him get to you. This is exactly the reaction he wants. As the evening progresses, Caleb observes the subtle shift in dynamics. Board members who had been friendly earlier now engage in briefer conversations. Shareholders watch Charlotte with speculative expressions, and Marcus continues his circuit of the room, planting seeds of doubt with strategic precision. Near the end of the gala, Caleb finds Charlotte alone on the terrace, gazing out at the city lights. The cool evening air provides respite from the political maneuvering inside. "Quite a view," he comments, joining her at the railing. "One of my favorite things about New York," she agrees. "The perspective it gives you. From up here, individual problems seem smaller." "Is that why you came outside? To make Marcus seem smaller?" Charlotte laughs softly. Perceptive, as always. She turns to face him. "I'm sorry you had to experience that side of corporate politics on your first official night." "I'm not." Caleb's expression is thoughtful. "It was educational. Marcus is targeting me to get to you, using me as evidence that you're making emotional rather than strategic decisions." "That's his playbook, yes." "Then we need to change the game." Determination enters Caleb's voice. "The board presentation on Monday, let me do it alone." Charlotte looks at him with surprise. "That wasn't the plan." "Exactly. Marcus expects you to shield me, to present the initiative yourself with me as the figurehead. If I can stand on my own, make the case myself." He shrugs slightly. It undermines his narrative. Charlotte studies him, recognizing the strategic thinking behind his suggestion. "The board can be ruthless with their questioning. So was life when my parents died and I had to drop out of school to keep my sister from becoming homeless." His voice remains matter-of-fact rather than bitter. "I can handle board members." A slow smile spreads across Charlotte's face. "You continue to surprise me, Caleb Miller." "Good," he returns her smile. Predictability is overrated. Their moment is interrupted by Gregory Wilson joining them on the terrace. Escaping the circus in Schweitz, wise choice. He glances between them, noting their proximity. "I hope I'm not intruding." "Not at all," Charlotte assures him. "We were discussing the board presentation on Monday." "Ah, yes, the talent initiative." Gregory's expression reveals nothing of his thoughts on the matter. "The board is eager to hear more details." "Mr. Miller will be presenting," Charlotte informs him. "It's his program, after all." Gregory's eyebrows rise slightly. Bold choice. Most new directors would prefer the CEO's protection for their first board appearance. "Most new directors follow conventional paths to their positions." Caleb responds evenly. "I'm already unconventional. Might as well embrace it." Gregory laughs, genuine amusement replacing his usual calculated expression. "You remind me of James Hayes. He never did anything by the book either." He raises his glass in a small toast. "I look forward to your presentation, Mr. Miller." After Gregory departs, Charlotte and Caleb share a look of cautious optimism. Perhaps they've found an unexpected ally in the board's most influential member. The weekend passes in a flurry of preparation. Charlotte and Caleb work long hours refining the initiative's framework, developing metrics for success, and anticipating the board's questions. Their collaboration is seamless. Charlotte's strategic vision complementing Caleb's practical approach and technical expertise. Sunday evening finds them in Charlotte's hotel suite, surrounded by presentation materials and empty coffee cups. Caleb paces as he rehearses his speech one final time, Charlotte offering feedback on his delivery. "You're ready," she tells him when he finishes. "More than ready." Caleb stops pacing, fatigue evident in his posture. "I hope you're right. There's a lot riding on this." "There is," Charlotte acknowledges, "but not just for the initiative. This is your opportunity to step fully into your capabilities, to be seen for who you are, not where you started." "Is that why you're doing this?" Caleb asks, genuinely curious. "Giving people like me a chance to be seen differently?" Charlotte is quiet for a moment, considering her answer. "Partly, but it's also about recognizing wasted potential. When my father started Hayes Group, he was repeatedly told he didn't have the right background, the right education, the right connections. The only person who believed in him was Gregory Wilson. That explains their friendship. Yes, they understood something fundamental, that innovation doesn't follow predetermined paths. It emerges from necessity, from different perspectives, from people willing to question established systems." Charlotte's expression softens with memory. "My father never forgot that lesson. He always looked for talent in unexpected places. And now you're doing the same." I'm trying to, Charlotte meets his gaze, starting with you. The moment stretches between them, weighted with unspoken recognition. They've moved beyond CEO and employee, beyond mentor and protege, into something less defined but more meaningful. A partnership based on mutual respect and shared vision. Caleb breaks the silence first. It's getting late. We should both get some rest before tomorrow. You're right. Charlotte stands, gathering her notes. The car will pick us up at 7. At the door, Caleb pauses. Thank you, Charlotte. Not just for the opportunity, but for seeing something in me worth believing in. I didn't create your potential, Caleb. I just recognized it. Her smile holds warmth rarely shown in professional settings. Sometimes that's all anyone needs. Someone to shine a light on what's already there. Monday morning arrives with the crisp clarity of early autumn. The Hayes Group headquarters in Boston stands like a gleaming monument to innovation. 40 stories of glass and steel overlooking the harbor. As their car approaches, Caleb observes the building with quiet assessment. Different from the New York branch, he notes. My father believed headquarters should inspire people. Charlotte watches his reaction. Does it? It's designed to impress, Caleb responds thoughtfully. Whether that translates to inspiration depends on whether people feel connected to what happens inside. His perspective, always considering the human element, reinforces Charlotte's confidence in his potential. As they enter the building, employees regard them with curious glances. Word of the unconventional new director has clearly preceded them. The executive floor buzzes with activity, Charlotte's assistant efficiently managing last-minute preparations for the board meeting. She hands Caleb a badge with his name and title, the physical manifestation of his new identity within the company. The board is assembling in the main conference room, she informs them. All members present except for Mr. Daniels, who's joining virtually from Singapore. Thank you, Rebecca. Charlotte turns to Caleb. Ready? He nods, adjusting his tie, pichwa, a small gesture betraying his awareness of the stakes. Ready? The boardroom intimidates through understated luxury, rich wood paneling, leather chairs, and a massive table where 8 of the most influential figures in the technology industry await them. Large windows offer panoramic views of Boston, a reminder of the heights from which decisions are made. Gregory Wilson rises to greet them. Charlotte, welcome home. And Mr. Miller, good to see you again. Introductions follow, each board member assessing Caleb with varying degrees of curiosity and skepticism. Charlotte takes her seat at the head of the table, Caleb beside her with his presentation materials prepared. Before we begin, one board member interjects, I'd like to address some concerns that have been brought to our attention. Charlotte maintains her composure. Regarding? Marcus Reynolds has been in contact with several of us. The woman, Janet Hoffman, pharmaceutical executive and major shareholder, speaks directly. He's raised questions about recent personnel decisions and resource allocations. I'm sure he has, Charlotte responds evenly. Given that those decisions followed his dismissal for corporate espionage, his perspective is hardly unbiased. Nevertheless, another member adds, promoting a security guard with limited formal education to director level is unprecedented. Some shareholders are expressing concern about the message it sends. Charlotte opens her mouth to defend the decision, but Caleb speaks first, his voice calm and measured. If I may address that concern directly? At Charlotte's nod and a nod, he continues, my formal education was interrupted, not absent. I completed 2 years of computer science at City University before financial circumstances forced my withdrawal. Since then, I've continued my education through every available channel. Online courses, certification programs, practical application. He meets each board member's gaze in turn. But more importantly, I understand Hayes Group's security vulnerabilities because I've experienced them firsthand. I've seen how information flows through your systems, where the blind spots exist, how employees at different levels interact with technology. That perspective allowed me to identify breaches that conventional security protocols missed. His confidence grows as he speaks. As for the message my appointment sends, yes, it's deliberate. It says that Hayes Group values demonstrated ability over credentials. It says we recognize that talent exists at every level of the organization. It says we're innovative not just in our products, but in how we develop our people. The room falls silent, board members exchanging glances. Gregory Wilson's face shows the hint of a smile. Well articulated, Mr. Miller, Janet Hoffman finally responds, but intentions don't always translate to results. What concrete benefits does this initiative offer Hayes Group? That's precisely what I'd like to present today. Caleb activates the room's display system, bringing up the first slide of his presentation. The Internal Talent Development Initiative isn't just about fairness or opportunity, though those are important values. It's about competitive advantage. For the next 45 minutes, Caleb guides the board through his vision, identifying overlooked talent, creating accelerated development paths, leveraging diverse perspectives to drive innovation. He presents case studies from other industries where similar approaches led to breakthrough products and increased market share. Most importantly, he outlines specific metrics for measuring success: retention improvements, innovation outputs, and revenue impacts. Throughout his presentation, Charlotte observes the board's reactions shifting from skepticism to interest. While Caleb speaks their language, not just idealism, but business strategy. He addresses potential risks honestly and presents mitigation plans. His technical background shows in his precise analysis, while his security experience informs his practical implementation approach. When he finishes, the questions come rapidly, challenging but engaged rather than dismissive. Caleb handles each with thoughtful consideration, neither defensive nor overconfident. Finally, Gregory Wilson leans forward. You've made a compelling case, Mr. Miller, but there's one aspect you haven't addressed directly. This initiative represents a significant departure from how executive talent has traditionally been developed in this industry. What makes you believe Hayes Group should be the company to pioneer this approach? The question cuts to the heart of the matter, not just the initiative itself, but the philosophy behind it. Caleb pauses, gathering his thoughts. When Charlotte first found me in that parking garage, I was studying programming by flashlight between security rounds, he begins. Not because anyone told me to, not because I was being paid to, but because I believed in my own potential, even when the traditional paths were closed to me. His voice strengthens with conviction. There are thousands of employees like me across this company, people with drive, intelligence, and fresh perspectives who just need opportunity and resources to contribute at higher levels. Hayes Group was founded by two college dropouts who believed they could build something revolutionary when everyone told them they couldn't. Caleb gestures to the city visible through the windows. The question isn't why Hayes Group should pioneer this approach. The question is, how can a company built on challenging convention now refuse to recognize the unconventional paths that lead to innovation? The boardroom falls silent. Charlotte feels a surge of pride watching Caleb stand in his truth, no longer apologetic for his background, but leveraging it as his unique strength. Gregory Wilson breaks the silence with a laugh. James Hayes couldn't have said it better himself. He looks around the table. I move that we approve funding for the initial phase of the initiative, with quarterly reviews against the metrics Mr. Miller has outlined. Seconded, Janet Hoffman adds, surprising Charlotte with her support. The vote passes unanimously. As board members file out, several stop to congratulate Caleb or ask follow-up questions about implementation details. The shift in their treatment of him is subtle but unmistakable, from curiosity about the unconventional appointee to respect for a capable executive. Gregory Wilson is the last to leave, pausing beside Charlotte. Your father would approve, he says quietly, not just of the initiative, but of your choice in champion. His gaze shifts to Caleb, still engaged in conversation with another board member. Keep this one close, Charlotte. He reminds me of James in all the right ways. After everyone departs, Charlotte and Caleb remain in the empty boardroom, the tension of the past hours giving way to quiet satisfaction. You did it, Charlotte says simply. We did it, Caleb corrects. This was always your vision. But it took your voice to make them truly hear it. She smiles. Gregory was right. You do remind me of my father. He had the same ability to cut through preconceptions and speak directly to what matters. Caleb accepts the compliment with a slight nod. What happens now? Now we build. Charlotte's expression brightens with possibilities. The real work begins, identifying candidates, developing pathways, creating the infrastructure. And after that, Caleb asks, a question beneath the question. Charlotte understands what he's really asking, about his own future, about the partnership forming between them, about where this all leads. One step at a time, Mr. Miller. Her smile holds promise. But I think we're just beginning to discover what we can accomplish together. As they leave the boardroom, Charlotte's phone buzzes with a message from Gregory. Dinner tonight? Want to discuss expansion possibilities for the initiative? She shows it to Caleb, our first ally on the board. A powerful one, he agrees, though I suspect Marcus won't give up so easily. No, he won't. Charlotte's expression grows determined, but neither will we. They exit the building into bright autumn sunshine, the city spread before them like a canvas of possibility. Whatever challenges lie ahead, Marcus's machinations, corporate resistance to change, the complexities of their evolving relationship, they face them now not as CEO and former security guard, but as partners in a vision larger than either of them alone could create. Caleb glances up at the Hayes Group logo gleaming against the blue sky, then back to Charlotte. Not everyone sees value where it is right now, he quotes her words from their first meeting, but that doesn't mean it's not there. I was right then, Charlotte responds, meeting his gaze, and I'm even more certain now. As they walk toward the waiting car, their steps align naturally, two paths converging into a single direction forward. The light that Charlotte first glimpsed in a dark parking garage now shines clearly, illuminating not just Caleb's potential, but a new way forward for the company itself. 3 months after the board's approval, the Internal Talent Development Initiative transforms from concept to reality. The program's headquarters occupies an entire floor of the New York branch, converted from underutilized office space into a modern learning environment. Glass-walled classrooms, collaborative workspaces, and cutting-edge technology create an atmosphere more reminiscent of a tech startup than a corporate training center. Charlotte walks through the space, observing a coding class in progress. 20 employees from various departments, customer service representatives, administrative assistants, maintenance workers, focus intently as Caleb guides them through a programming exercise. His teaching style balances patience with challenge, adapting to different learning paces while maintaining high expectations. Notice how we're breaking down a complex problem into manageable components, he explains, moving between workstations. This approach applies whether you're coding an application or solving business challenges. Charlotte smiles, seeing how naturally he stepped into this role. The past months have revealed new dimensions to Caleb, not just technical expertise, but leadership abilities that draw out the best in others. Under his direction, the initiative has already identified 67 employees with exceptional potential, enrolling them in specialized development tracks aligned with both their abilities and company needs. After class concludes, Caleb joins Charlotte in his office, a modest space he insisted on keeping smaller than standard for his position, preferring to allocate resources to the program instead. The debugging module is going well, he reports. Even participants with no previous coding experience are grasping the concepts. I noticed. Charlotte takes a seat across from his desk. Your teaching approach is impressive. Caleb shrugs slightly. Just applying what I learned helping Lily with her studies. Different people need different entry points to complex material. Speaking of Lily, how is she doing at NYU? His expression brightens. Thriving. Made the dean's list again last semester. She started tutoring other students in computer science. Following in her brother's footsteps, Charlotte smiles. I'd like to meet her sometime. She's been asking about you too. Caleb looks momentarily hesitant. Actually, she's invited us both for dinner this weekend. Nothing fancy, just at our apartment, but only if you're comfortable with that. The invitation represents a significant shift, moving their relationship beyond professional boundaries into personal territory. Charlotte considers briefly before responding. I'd like that, she says simply. Their conversation is interrupted by Rebecca, Charlotte's assistant, appearing at the door with an urgent expression. Ms. Hayes, I'm sorry to disturb you, but there's a situation requiring your immediate attention. Charlotte follows Rebecca to a conference room where Gregory Wilson waits, his usual composed demeanor replaced by evident concern. A tablet sits on the table before him. Gregory, I wasn't expecting you in New York today. This couldn't wait for a video call. He gestures to the tablet. Have you seen the Business Insider article? Charlotte picks up the device, reading the headline with growing alarm. Hayes Group Innovation Program, Genuine Development, or CEO's Pet Project. The accompanying photo shows Charlotte and Caleb at the charity gala 3 months earlier, standing close together on the terrace. The article quotes anonymous sources within Hayes Group management, claiming the talent initiative diverts critical resources to unqualified participants based on personal rather than strategic considerations. It specifically highlights Caleb's rapid rise from security guard to director, insinuating an inappropriate relationship influencing Charlotte's decision-making. Marcus, Charlotte concludes, setting down the tablet. This has his fingerprints all over it. Almost certainly, Gregory agrees, but that doesn't make it less damaging. Several major shareholders have already called me expressing concern. The program's metrics are excellent. We're ahead of projected outcomes in every category. This isn't about outcomes, Charlotte. It's about perception. Gregory's expression softens with sympathy. The article raises questions about your judgment, suggesting personal feelings are influencing business decisions. Charlotte maintains her composure despite her rising anger. My relationship with Caleb Miller is entirely professional. Is it? Gregory asks gently. Because even I've noticed the way you interact. There's a connection there that goes beyond typical working relationships. Before Charlotte can respond, Rebecca appears again. Mr. Miller is here. He's seen the article. Caleb enters, his expression carefully controlled, though tension radiates from his posture. I assume we're discussing the hit piece. We are, Charlotte confirms. Gregory was just expressing concerns about the perception it creates. Perception isn't reality, Caleb counters, then catches himself. But I understand how it impacts the company. He turns to Gregory. If my position is becoming a liability to the initiative, I'm prepared to step back. That's exactly what Marcus wants, Charlotte interjects, for us to abandon the program or remove its most effective advocate. Gregory observes their exchange with shrewd assessment. The board meeting is next week. Shareholders will expect this to be addressed. He rises to leave. I suggest you prepare a response that directly confronts these insinuations rather than avoiding them. After Gregory departs, Charlotte and Caleb sit in troubled silence, the tablet between them displaying the damaging article. I should resign, Caleb finally says. That initiative is more important than my role in it. That's not an option. Charlotte's tone leaves no room for argument. We knew Marcus would retaliate. This is just his opening move. But the implications about our relationship are meant to distract from the program's success. Charlotte leans forward, her gaze intense. Look at the timing, Caleb. The quarterly results showing the initiative's positive impacts are being released tomorrow. This article is preemptive damage control by Marcus, trying to undermine those results by questioning the motives behind them. Caleb considers this. So how do we respond? By refusing to be defensive, we'll accelerate the release of our results and invite media to tour the facility. A determined smile forms on Charlotte's lips. If Marcus wants to make this public, we'll show the public exactly what we've built. The next day, Charlotte hosts a press tour of the Talent Initiative facilities. Journalists from major business publications observe classes in session, interview participants about their experiences, and review the program's preliminary outcomes. Caleb leads technical demonstrations, his expertise and passion evident as he explains how the initiative identifies and develops talent. What's revolutionary about this approach, he tells reporters, is that we're not just filling specific skill gaps. We're creating a pipeline of multifaceted innovators who understand Hayes Group from diverse perspectives. Charlotte watches from the sidelines, noting how effortlessly Caleb has grown into his public-facing role. The shy security guard studying by flashlight has transformed into a confident leader who commands respect not through authority, but through genuine expertise and vision. When one reporter directly references the Business Insider article, asking about the unusual career trajectory that brought Caleb to his position, he responds with disarming honesty. There's nothing usual about innovation, he says. Hayes Group was founded by two people who didn't fit conventional molds. They succeeded precisely because they approached problems differently. My background gives me a perspective most executives lack. I've experienced firsthand the barriers that prevent talented people from contributing at their highest potential. He gestures to the classroom where former administrative assistants are learning advanced data analysis. Every person in that room has capabilities that were previously untapped. Recognizing that talent isn't about charity or personal preference, it's about competitive advantage. The press coverage that follows largely shifts the narrative. While some publications still mention the controversial appointment, most focus on the program's impressive early results and innovative approach. Business journals particularly note the potential long-term impact on corporate talent development practices industry-wide. That evening, Charlotte and Caleb review the media coverage in her office, the tension of the previous day giving way to cautious optimism. The response is better than I expected, Caleb admits, scrolling through articles on his tablet. People respond to authenticity, Charlotte replies. You didn't try to hide your background or overcompensate. That resonates. Still, the questions about our relationship won't disappear completely. Charlotte sets down her coffee cup, considering her next words carefully. The dinner with Lily this weekend, perhaps we should postpone. Disappointment flickers across Caleb's face before his expression returns to neutral. You're probably right. Given the circumstances, it might feed into the narrative. I didn't say I wanted to postpone, Charlotte clarifies. I'm asking if you think we should. Their eyes meet across the desk, the unspoken question hanging between them. Their connection has evolved beyond mentor and protege, beyond CEO and director, into something neither has fully acknowledged. No, Caleb finally says, I don't think we should postpone. Lily would be disappointed and he hesitates. I don't want to let Marcus dictate our choices, professional or personal. Charlotte nods, a small smile forming. Neither do I. The moment is interrupted by Rebecca entering with an urgent expression. Ms. Hayes, we have a situation. Someone has accessed and downloaded the complete participant database for the talent initiative, including personal assessments and development plans. When, Charlotte demands, immediately alert. 20 minutes ago, the cybersecurity team just detected it. Caleb is already moving to a computer terminal. The encryption should have prevented this, unless his fingers fly across the keyboard, pulling up security logs. They used executive-level credentials. Marcus again? Charlotte asks, looking over his shoulder. No, the access came from inside the building, using... He stops, expression darkening. Using my credentials. That's impossible. You've been here all afternoon. Someone cloned my access. Caleb's voice hardens with certainty. This is sophisticated, bypassing multiple security layers. Charlotte straightens, immediately shifting to crisis management. Lock down all sensitive systems. Full security audit, starting now. As Caleb implements security protocols, Charlotte addresses Rebecca. Call an emergency meeting of the executive team and contact Gregory Wilson. He needs to hear this from us before it spreads. The next hours blur into intense activity. Cybersecurity teams work to trace the breach while Charlotte briefs executives on the situation. The implications are severe. Participant data includes not just personal information, but proprietary assessments of employee capabilities and potential, essentially a roadmap of Hayes Group's talent strategy. Near midnight, Charlotte finds Caleb still in the Security Operations Center, surrounded by technical specialists reviewing code and access logs. Any progress? She asks. He looks up, fatigue evident in his face. We've contained the breach and identified the access point. They used a terminal in the executive floor restroom, installed a hardware key logger to capture my credentials when I used that facility last week. This wasn't opportunistic, Charlotte concludes. Someone targeted you specifically and knew exactly when and how to use those credentials. Caleb runs a hand through his hair, a rare gesture of frustration. This required inside knowledge of our security protocols. Do we know where the data was sent? Anonymous proxy server, untraceable. His expression is grim, but the timing isn't coincidental. First the article questioning my qualifications, now a security breach using my credentials. Someone's trying to discredit you. Charlotte's voice hardens, and by extension, the entire initiative. They're succeeding. Caleb stands, pacing the small space. This breach makes me look either complicit or incompetent. Either way, it damages everything we've built. Charlotte watches him, recognizing the weight settling on his shoulders. The board meeting is in 3 days. We need to identify the source of this breach before then. I'll keep working on it. He turns back to the monitors, determination overriding exhaustion. Not alone. Charlotte pulls up a chair beside him. We're in this together. They work through the night, reviewing security footage, analyzing access patterns, and reconstructing the sequence of events that led to the breach. As dawn breaks over New York, they finally identify a suspicious pattern. A maintenance worker who accessed the executive floor outside normal hours multiple times in the week before the breach. There, Caleb points to the footage. He's carrying an equipment that could conceal a keylogger installation. Charlotte squints at the screen. I don't recognize him. He's not on our regular maintenance staff. Caleb pulls up employee records. Contracted through Pinnacle Services 3 weeks ago. Temporary assignment. Check Pinnacle's client list. A few keystrokes later, confirmation appears on screen. Hexagon Technologies, the same competitor Marcus had been selling information to, is Pinnacle's largest client. We have our connection, Charlotte says grimly. Marcus is working with Hexagon again, this time to sabotage the initiative by discrediting you. Before they can discuss further, Charlotte's phone rings. Gregory Wilson, calling earlier than expected. Gregory, she answers, putting the call on speaker. We've made progress tracking the security breach. That's not why I'm calling. His voice is unusually tense. The board has called an emergency session for this afternoon. Several major shareholders are demanding immediate action regarding the talent initiative. We've only just identified the source of the breach. This goes beyond the breach, Charlotte. There are additional complications. Gregory hesitates. Someone sent the board screenshots of text messages between you and Caleb. Charlotte and Caleb exchange alarmed glances. What messages? She demands. Personal exchanges. Nothing explicitly inappropriate, but taken out of context. Gregory sighs heavily. It creates the impression of a relationship that has influenced business decisions. That's absurd, Charlotte protests. Any messages between us have been primarily work-related. The timing and tone suggest otherwise. Late-night exchanges, personal discussions about family. Gregory's voice softens with concern. Charlotte, I'm on your side here, but the board is questioning whether your judgment has been compromised. After ending the call, Charlotte turns to Caleb, whose expression has grown distant. Those messages were private. How could anyone access them? The keylogger, he realizes. It wasn't just installed on the executive floor terminal. They must have placed one on your personal devices too. His face darkens with anger. This isn't just corporate espionage anymore. It's a targeted attack on you personally. On both of us, Charlotte corrects. They're using our connection to undermine everything we've built. She stands, decision made. We need to address this directly. No more defensive positioning. What are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time to change the narrative completely. Determination fills her voice. We've been reacting to Marcus's moves. Now we make our own. The emergency board meeting convenes in the New York office that afternoon. The atmosphere is tense as board members take their seats, their expressions ranging from concern to disappointment. Charlotte enters with Caleb beside her, both presenting a united front despite having had no sleep for over 30 hours. Before we begin, Charlotte addresses the room. I want to make clear that we've identified the source of yesterday's security breach. It was a sophisticated attack using hardware installed by a contractor with direct ties to Hexagon Technologies. While concerning, that's not our primary issue today, Janet Hoffman responds. The board has received communications suggesting a personal relationship between you and Mr. Miller that may have influenced your business judgment. I'm aware of what you've received, Charlotte replies evenly. Stolen private messages obtained through illegal means, deliberately selected and presented without context. But nevertheless, another board member interjects, the appearance of impropriety. Let me stop you there. Charlotte's voice takes on a steely quality rarely displayed in board meetings. For months, we've been under systematic attack by Marcus Reynolds and his allies at Hexagon. First through media manipulation, now through cybercrime. Why? Because the talent initiative represents a fundamental threat to traditional corporate hierarchies that benefit people like Marcus. She gestures to the quarterly results displayed on the room's screens. The program is succeeding beyond our projections. Retention of high-potential employees is up 32%. Innovation outputs from initiative participants have generated 17 patent applications in just 3 months. Customer satisfaction scores from departments with initiative graduates have improved by 18%. Charlotte looks each board member in the eye. These attacks aren't about protecting Hayes Group's interests. They're about protecting an outdated system that wastes human potential for the benefit of a privileged few. Gregory Wilson leans forward. While the program's results are impressive, Charlotte, the board must address the questions about your relationship with Mr. Miller. Caleb, who has remained silent until now, finally speaks. With respect, Mr. Wilson, that's exactly what Marcus wants. To make this about personal relationships rather than business outcomes. Nevertheless, Gregory insists, clarity is required. Charlotte takes a deep breath, making a decision that will irreversibly change the dynamic. Very well. Yes, I have developed personal regard for Caleb Miller. I respect his intelligence, his integrity, and his vision. I value his perspective both professionally and personally. Murmurs circulate around the table as Charlotte continues. However, my initial decision to appoint him was based solely on his demonstrated abilities. The subsequent success of the initiative has validated that decision many times over. If the board chooses to penalize successful innovation because of how it began, that's your prerogative. But it would be a disservice to the company and its shareholders. Janet Hoffman studies Charlotte carefully. What exactly are you proposing? I'm proposing we stop playing defense and start recognizing this situation for what it is, a deliberate attempt to undermine Hayes Group's competitive advantage. Charlotte activates her presentation, displaying evidence of the coordinated attacks. Here's what we know. The negative media coverage, the security breach, and the stolen messages all trace back to connections with Hexagon Technologies, where Marcus Reynolds now serves as a special consultant. She outlines the evidence they've gathered, presenting a compelling case for corporate sabotage. As she speaks, the board's expressions shift from skepticism to concern. This isn't just about the talent initiative, Charlotte concludes. It's about protecting Hayes Group's security and future. Marcus has demonstrated he's willing to use any means, including illegal ones, to damage this company. Gregory Wilson breaks the silence that follows. What do you recommend? First, we pursue legal action against Hexagon Technologies for corporate espionage and cybercrime. Charlotte's voice is resolute. Second, we accelerate the talent initiative's expansion rather than retreating from it. And third, we take control of the public narrative by transparently addressing these attacks. After intense discussion, the board votes to support Charlotte's recommendations, though with a significant condition proposed by Gregory Wilson. To address concerns about oversight, he suggests, I propose that I personally serve as board liaison to the talent initiative, working directly with both Charlotte and Mr. Miller to ensure complete transparency in all decision-making. Though framed as support, Charlotte recognizes the supervision for what it is, the board maintaining closer control over her actions. Nevertheless, she accepts the condition gracefully, recognizing the victory in the larger context. As the meeting concludes, Gregory pulls Charlotte aside. You're walking a dangerous line, he warns quietly. I've bought you time, but the board will be watching closely. I understand. Charlotte meets his gaze directly. Thank you for your support. Don't mistake strategic alignment for unconditional support, Gregory cautions. I believe in the initiative, but I'm concerned about your judgment where Miller is concerned. My judgment is sound, Charlotte assures him. The results speak for themselves. Results aren't everything, Charlotte. Your father understood that maintaining trust is as important as maintaining profits. His expression softens slightly. Be careful. Marcus isn't finished, and now you've escalated the conflict. After Gregory departs, Charlotte finds Caleb waiting in her office, his expression troubled. That was a risk, he says when she enters, acknowledging personal regard for me to the board. It was necessary. Charlotte sinks into her chair, the exhaustion of the past 36 hours finally catching up with her. Denying it would have played into Marcus's strategy, making us look like we're hiding something improper. And are we? Caleb asked quietly. Hiding something? The question hangs between them, direct in a way their previous interactions have not been. Charlotte meets his gaze, recognizing the moment for what it is, a crossroads requiring honesty. I've maintained professional boundaries because that's what the situation required. She begins carefully. But yes, Caleb, my interest in you has evolved beyond professional admiration. He nods slowly, absorbing her words. Mine as well. But that doesn't change the complications. No, it doesn't. Charlotte's smile holds a touch of sadness, which is why we need to be especially careful moving forward. The initiative is too important to jeopardize. Agreed. Caleb's expression reflects the same conflicted commitment. So we maintain professional distance. In public, absolutely. Charlotte straightens, shifting back to CEO mode. Gregory will be watching us closely. We need to be beyond reproach. And in private, Charlotte considers her answer carefully. We proceed with awareness of the complexities, no impulsive decisions. Their conversation is interrupted by Rebecca's arrival with urgent news. The legal team has preliminary injunctions ready against Hexagon, and PR has prepared a statement addressing the security breach. Also, she adds with a concerned glance between them, someone leaked details of today's board meeting to the press. Business Insider is running a story within the hour. Marcus works quickly, Charlotte observes grimly. Draft a response emphasizing the legal action against Hexagon and the board's continued support for the initiative. After Rebecca leaves, Caleb sighs heavily. This isn't going to end until Marcus is completely neutralized. No, it isn't. Charlotte's expression hardens with resolve, which means we need to be proactive rather than reactive. It's time we investigated Marcus more thoroughly, find out exactly what he's planning with Hexagon. I'll start digging, Caleb offers. I still have contacts in the security community who can help. Be careful. Marcus has already demonstrated he's willing to use illegal means. Charlotte's concern is evident. We need to operate within ethical and legal boundaries, even if he doesn't. Always. Caleb's integrity remains his foundation, despite the escalating conflict. We don't compromise who we are, even to win. The next morning brings new challenges. Business Insider's article portrays the board meeting as a confrontation over professional boundaries, highlighting Charlotte's acknowledgement of personal regard for Caleb. While technically accurate, the framing suggests corporate drama rather than strategic response to sabotage. More concerning is an anonymous quote from a board member expressing ongoing reservations about the talent initiative's direction. The division within Hayes Group's leadership becomes the story, overshadowing both the program's success and the evidence against Hexagon. Charlotte addresses the executive team directly, acknowledging the public scrutiny while emphasizing unwavering commitment to the initiative. Throughout the meeting, she maintains appropriate professional distance from Caleb, though their occasional exchanged glances communicate volumes. After the meeting, Gregory Wilson arrives for his first official oversight visit as board liaison. Charlotte gives him a comprehensive tour of the facility, introducing him to participants and instructors. Impressive operation, Gregory acknowledges as they observe a technical training session. The participants' enthusiasm is evident. It's not just enthusiasm, Charlotte points out. It's ownership. For many, this is the first time their potential has been recognized and invested in. I see why you're passionate about it. Gregory studies her carefully, and about its director. Charlotte maintains her composure. Caleb has exceeded every expectation in implementing this program. His background gives him unique insight into identifying overlooked talent. Charlotte, Gregory's tone turns fatherly. I've known you since you were a child. I can recognize when you're personally invested beyond professional interest. She meets his gaze directly. My personal feelings don't compromise my business judgment, Gregory. If anything, they enhance it. I see Caleb clearly, both his exceptional capabilities and his limitations. And does he see you clearly, beyond the powerful CEO who changed his life? The question strikes unexpectedly close to Charlotte's private concerns. Before she can respond, Caleb approaches with a tablet in hand, his expression serious. Sorry to interrupt, he addresses them both. But we've discovered something significant about Hexagon's recent activities. In a private conference room, Caleb presents his findings. Hexagon has been systematically recruiting executives from companies implementing talent development programs similar to ours. They've hired 3 former HR directors and a chief learning officer in the past month alone. They're building competing expertise, Charlotte concludes. More than that, Caleb pulls up additional data. They've also filed preliminary patents for an employee development and tracking system with specifications remarkably similar to the proprietary assessment tools we've developed. Gregory frowns. The data stolen in the breach. Exactly, they're not just trying to discredit our initiative, they're trying to replicate it before we can establish market leadership. Caleb displays financial projections. Based on these numbers, they're investing heavily in this direction, which explains Marcus's desperation to slow us down, Charlotte adds. He's buying time for Hexagon to catch up. Gregory considers this information thoughtfully. This changes the strategic landscape. If Hexagon launches a competing program, it validates your approach while potentially diminishing our first-mover advantage. Unless we accelerate, Charlotte suggests, an idea forming, the initiative has proven successful in New York. What if we expand to all major branches simultaneously? The board would never approve such rapid scaling without more data, Gregory objects. They would if the alternative meant losing our competitive edge to Hexagon. Charlotte turns to Caleb. How quickly could we implement across all branches? With sufficient resources, 3 months. Caleb considers the challenges. We'd need to train facilitators, adapt curriculum to branch-specific needs, and develop remote assessment capabilities. And the cost, Gregory asks. Significant initially, but with economies of scale as we expand. Caleb outlines rough numbers that make Gregory's eyebrows rise. The board will resist this level of investment without absolute certainty of returns. Then we give them certainty. Charlotte's expression brightens with determination. Not just projections, but commitments. We guarantee specific performance improvements within 6 months of implementation at each branch. Gregory looks skeptical. That's a substantial risk. So is allowing Hexagon to establish themselves as innovators using our stolen intellectual property. Charlotte counters. Sometimes leadership requires calculated risk. After further discussion, Gregory reluctantly agrees to present the expansion proposal to the board, though with clear reservations. I'll support this, Charlotte, but my oversight role will intensify. The board will insist on rigorous accountability. I welcome it, Charlotte assures him. Transparency serves our interests. When Gregory leaves to make arrangements for the board presentation, Caleb turns to Charlotte. He's concerned about more than just the business case. Yes, he's concerned about my judgment where you're concerned. Charlotte smiles slightly. A concern you share, I suspect. Caleb doesn't deny it. The stakes keep rising. Personal complications make strategic decisions more difficult, or more clear. Charlotte moves toward the window, gazing out at the city. I've spent my career making safe, calculated decisions, Caleb, building slowly, proving every step before taking the next one. It's made Hayes Group stable and profitable. She turns back to him. But the truly transformative innovations, the ones that reshape industries, those come from bold moves driven by conviction. My father understood that. He built this company by trusting his instincts about people and possibilities others couldn't see. And that's what you're doing with the initiative? With the initiative. With you. Charlotte's honesty is direct but controlled. I believe in what we're building, not despite my personal regard for you, but partially because of it. I trust my judgment of your capabilities precisely because I've taken the time to know you as a person, not just as an employee. Caleb absorbs her words, conflict evident in his expression. The timing is problematic. Until we neutralize Marcus and secure the initiative's future, any personal evolution between us becomes ammunition, Charlotte finishes. I know, which is why we maintain professional boundaries while working together on both fronts, expanding the initiative and addressing the Hexagon threat. As if summoned by their discussion, Rebecca appears with breaking news. Ms. Hayes, Hexagon Technologies has just announced a major new program called Talent Elevation, described as an innovative approach to identifying and developing overlooked employee potential. Charlotte and Caleb exchange knowing glances. Send me everything they've released, Charlotte instructs, and schedule an executive committee meeting for 1 hour from now. After Rebecca leaves, Caleb's expression darkens. They're moving faster than we anticipated. Using our stolen research to beat us to market, Charlotte's voice hardens with resolve, which means we need to move faster still. As they prepare for the executive meeting, a silent understanding passes between them. Personal considerations must remain secondary to the battle ahead. Whatever is developing between them will need to wait until the initiative's future is secure. In the days that follow, Charlotte and Caleb work relentlessly to develop the expansion plan while countering Hexagon's announcement. Their professional interaction remains impeccable under Gregory's watchful eye, though the underlying connection continues to deepen through shared purpose and mutual respect. The upcoming board presentation looms as a critical juncture, not just for the initiative's expansion, but for Hayes Group's competitive position and Charlotte's leadership. With Marcus and Hexagon accelerating their efforts to undermine both, the stakes have never been higher. One evening, as they finalize the presentation in Charlotte's office, Caleb suddenly stops mid-sentence, a realization dawning on his face. "What is it?" Charlotte asks, noting his changed expression. "We've been thinking about this all wrong," he says slowly. "We've been trying to beat Hexagon to market with our expansion, matching their pace. That's the logical response to their announcement. But it's reactive, not proactive." Energy enters his voice as the idea develops. "What if instead of just expanding our internal program, we go public with it?" Charlotte frowns. "What do you mean?" "We transform the initiative into a dual-purpose program, internal talent development and external educational opportunity." Caleb begins sketching the concept. Hayes Group becomes not just a technology company, but an educational institution providing free or low-cost training to communities that lack access. The audacity of the idea gives Charlotte pause. That's a fundamental shift in business model. It's an extension, not a replacement. We still develop our internal talent, but we simultaneously build a pipeline of future talent from underserved communities. His eyes bright with possibility, Caleb continues. "Think about it. Instead of competing with Hexagon for existing talent, we create new talent pools. We transform the market itself." Charlotte considers the implications, her strategic mind quickly assessing angles. The investment would be substantial. So would the returns, not just in future recruitment, but in brand reputation, community goodwill, and market differentiation. Caleb's passion is contagious. Hexagon is trying to copy our internal program. Let them. We'll be 10 steps ahead, solving a much bigger problem. As the concept unfolds between them, Charlotte recognizes the transformative potential, not just for Hayes Group, but for thousands of people like Caleb who need only opportunity to realize their capabilities. The vision resonates deeply with her father's founding philosophy while pushing into territory he never imagined. "We'll call it Rising Steps," she decides, a smile spreading across her face, because that's what it offers, a way to rise. In this moment of shared vision and purpose, the professional boundaries between them momentarily dissolve. Their eyes meet with mutual recognition of what they're creating together. Something larger than either could have conceived alone, built on the foundation of their complementary strengths and perspectives. The battle with Marcus and Hexagon has inadvertently pushed them toward a far more revolutionary approach than either had initially imagined. Whatever challenges lie ahead, corporate resistance, market skepticism, personal complications, they face them united by a vision that transcends conventional business thinking. Rising Steps, Caleb repeats, the name settling between them like a promise. It's perfect. The Hayes Group boardroom falls silent as Charlotte and Caleb conclude their presentation on Rising Steps. The ambitious proposal, transforming their internal talent initiative into a public educational program, has left the board members in varying states of surprise, skepticism, and contemplation. Gregory Wilson breaks the silence first. "This is not what I expected." "It's a radical departure from our core business model," Janet Hoffman adds, tapping her pen against her notepad, "essentially creating an educational institution alongside our technology operations." "Not alongside," Charlotte clarifies, "integrated with. Rising Steps becomes both our talent pipeline and our contribution to addressing the technology skills gap in underserved communities." Another board member leans forward. The investment required is substantial. We're talking about facilities, instructors, curriculum development, community outreach, all detailed in the financial projections, Caleb responds, bringing up the relevant slides. Yes, the initial investment is significant, but the 3-year ROI outpaces our traditional recruitment and training costs. More importantly, it creates sustainable competitive advantage that can't be easily replicated. Unlike our internal program, which Hexagon is already attempting to copy, Charlotte adds. Gregory studies the proposal thoughtfully. This isn't just about countering Hexagon. This is a fundamental shift in how Hayes Group positions itself in the market and society. It is, Charlotte acknowledges. My father built this company on the belief that talent and innovation can come from unexpected places. Rising Steps extends that philosophy beyond our walls. Noble sentiments, Janet notes with a hint of skepticism. But we answer to shareholders who expect business decisions based on financial outcomes, not social impact. Caleb steps forward. With respect, so Hoffman, this isn't an either-or proposition. The program delivers both. By creating new talent pools in communities typically overlooked by the technology sector, we gain access to diverse perspectives and problem-solving approaches our competitors lack. He brings up data from their pilot program. Participants from non-traditional backgrounds have already contributed innovations that our conventional teams missed. These aren't just feel-good stories. They're patents, product improvements, and efficiency gains with measurable financial impact. The discussion continues for hours, with board members dissecting every aspect of the proposal. Throughout, Charlotte and Caleb present a united front, their complementary strengths evident. Charlotte's strategic vision and leadership experience, balancing Caleb's practical implementation knowledge and firsthand understanding of the barriers Rising Steps aims to address. Finally, Gregory calls for a decision. This proposal represents significant risk and significant potential. Before we vote, I want to hear from both of you one last time. Why should Hayes Group take this leap? Charlotte looks at Caleb, giving him the opportunity to speak first. He steps forward, his usual reserve replaced by quiet conviction. When Charlotte found me in that parking garage studying by flashlight, I represented untapped potential that traditional systems had overlooked. Not because I lacked ability, but because circumstances had closed conventional paths. His voice strengthens as he continues. There are thousands of people like me, with intelligence, drive, and innovative thinking, who just need opportunity and resources to contribute at their highest level. He gestures to the Rising Steps proposal. This program isn't just about corporate responsibility or public relations. It's about competitive advantage through human potential. In a world where technology companies fight over the same limited talent pool, we're creating an entirely new one. Charlotte steps beside him. Hayes Group has always defined itself as an innovation company. But true innovation isn't just about technology. It's about reimagining possibilities. Rising Steps reimagines how a corporation can engage with talent, with education, and with community. She meets each board member's gaze in turn. My father used to say that the best business decisions look obvious in hindsight, but require courage in the moment. This is that moment for Hayes Group. We can maintain our current course and compete incrementally with Hexagon, or we can transform the landscape itself. After a tense vote, the board approves the proposal, not unanimously, but with sufficient support to move forward. As the meeting concludes, Gregory approaches Charlotte and Caleb. Congratulations, he says with measured approval. You've convinced enough of us to take this risk. Now comes the hard part, delivering on these ambitious promises. We're ready, Charlotte assures him. As they leave the boardroom, Caleb turns to Charlotte. That went better than expected. The real challenge begins now, she responds. We have 6 months to establish the first Rising Steps Center and demonstrate measurable results. The board's support is conditional on meeting these initial benchmarks. We'll meet them. His confidence isn't bravado, but earns certainty based on the work they have already accomplished. Charlotte smiles slightly. I believe we will. But first, we need to prepare for Marcus's response. Hexagon won't take this lying down. Her prediction proves accurate sooner than expected. The following morning, news breaks of Hexagon Technologies filing a lawsuit against Hayes Group, alleging intellectual property theft related to talent development methodologies. Though baseless, an obvious attempt to slow Hayes Group's momentum while Hexagon develops their competing program, the legal action creates immediate complications. They're trying to tie us up in court, Caleb observes as they review the lawsuit with Hayes Group's legal team. Delay tactics while they rush their program to market. It's more than that, Charlotte adds. This creates uncertainty for potential partners and participants. People hesitate to join initiatives under legal cloud. The legal team outlines their response strategy, but Charlotte recognizes that the battle extends beyond courtrooms. The public narrative will significantly impact Rising Steps' launch and success. Over the following weeks, Charlotte and Caleb work relentlessly to advance Rising Steps while countering Hexagon's legal and public relations attacks. They secure a location for the first center, a former manufacturing building in a struggling Brooklyn neighborhood, and begin renovations designed to create a state-of-the-art learning environment while preserving the industrial character that connects to the community's heritage. Throughout this period, they maintain strict professional boundaries in public, conscious of Gregory's oversight and the scrutiny from both media and competitors. But their private conversations deepen, extending beyond work to personal values, hopes, and philosophies that reveal increasing alignment in their worldviews despite different life paths. One evening, as they review architectural plans for the Rising Steps Center, Caleb mentions an upcoming weekend visit with Lily. "She's been asking about you," he adds casually, "wondering when you'll reschedule that dinner we postponed." Charlotte looks up from the blueprints. "I'd like that. After the center's launch, perhaps, when things settle down." "Things never seem to settle down with us," Caleb observes with a small smile. "One crisis after another since the day we met." "Would you change it?" Charlotte asked, genuinely curious. "Go back to the security desk, quiet nights, studying in the parking garage?" Caleb considers this thoughtfully. "I'd miss the challenge, the opportunity to build something meaningful." His eyes meet hers. The partnership. The word carries weight beyond professional collaboration, acknowledging the evolving connection between them without directly challenging the boundaries they've established. "So would I," Charlotte replies simply. Their moment is interrupted by Rebecca arriving with urgent news. Marcus Reynolds just announced his appointment as Hexagon's new Chief Innovation Officer, overseeing their talent development program. Charlotte and Caleb exchange concerned glances. Marcus's formal position at Hexagon escalates the competitive threat, giving him increased resources and authority to oppose Rising Steps. "There's more," Rebecca continues. "He's giving an interview on Bloomberg tomorrow morning, apparently discussing ethical concerns about Hayes Group's new educational initiative." "Preemptive attack," Charlotte concludes, "trying to shape public perception before we officially announce." "We should respond immediately," Caleb suggests. "No." Charlotte's strategic mind assesses the situation. "Let him show his hand first, then we'll counter with substance rather than speculation." Marcus's Bloomberg interview the next day reveals his strategy, positioning Hexagon as the responsible innovator, while characterizing Rising Steps as a marketing ploy masquerading as social responsibility. He raises concerns about Hayes Group's questionable leadership decisions and conflicts of interest, thinly veiled references to Charlotte and Caleb's relationship. Rather than responding directly to these accusations, Charlotte implements a different approach. She invites community leaders, educators, and potential Rising Steps participants to tour the center in progress, sharing their unfiltered vision and listening to community needs. Local media coverage creates authentic narratives that contrast sharply with Marcus's corporate posturing. Most powerfully, Caleb organizes a panel of participants from their pilot program, people whose careers have transformed through the initiative, to speak directly about their experiences. Their genuine stories of opportunity and growth resonate far more effectively than corporate statements could. 3 months before the official launch, Charlotte receives unexpected news. The lawsuit from Hexagon has been withdrawn without explanation. Gregory Wilson provides insight during their weekly oversight meeting. Their legal team recognized the case was unsustainable, he explains. But more importantly, their initial talent program launch has encountered significant problems. Turnover among participants, technology integration issues. They rushed to market with an incomplete understanding of the methodology, Caleb concludes, using our stolen data without comprehending the implementation principles. Precisely. Gregory looks mildly impressed by Caleb's assessment. Marcus overpromised and underdelivered. Hexagon's board is questioning the investment. So they're retreating? Charlotte asks. Temporarily regrouping, Gregory corrects. Don't underestimate Marcus's determination or Hexagon's resources. They're changing tactics, not surrendering. His warning proves prescient. 2 weeks later, Charlotte receives a confidential tip from a board member at another technology firm. Marcus is approaching Hayes Group's major clients, offering significant discounts to switch providers, while suggesting Rising Steps indicates Hayes is losing focus on core business. He's attacking our revenue base, Charlotte tells Caleb during an emergency strategy session, trying to create financial pressure that forces us to scale back Rising Steps. Can we counter with our own incentives? Caleb asks. Not without compromising our margins significantly. Charlotte paces her office, thinking aloud. We need to demonstrate that Rising Steps enhances our core services rather than distracting from them. This realization leads to an innovation, integrating Rising Steps participants directly into client service teams as apprentices, bringing fresh perspectives to long-standing challenges while demonstrating Hayes Group's expanded talent pipeline. The approach not only neutralizes Marcus's narrative, but converts several key clients into active supporters of the initiative. As the launch date approaches, the Rising Steps Center transforms from construction site to reality. Modern classrooms, technology labs, and collaborative spaces fill the renovated building. The rooftop features a community garden and solar panels, physical manifestations of the program's commitment to sustainability and neighborhood integration. 1 week before the official opening, Charlotte and Caleb walk through the completed facility after the construction crews have departed for the day. The quiet building hums with potential, ready to welcome its first full cohort of participants. It's really happening, Caleb observes, his voice reflecting wonder despite his usual reserve. From a conversation to this in 6 months. Because of you, Charlotte responds. Your vision, your understanding of what people need to succeed. Caleb shakes his head. Partnership, remember? Your strategic thinking, your willingness to challenge corporate conventions. Neither of us could have created this alone. They reach the main entrance hall, where a simple installation catches the afternoon light. A weathered flashlight mounted in a clear display case with a small plaque reading, "Sometimes the brightest potential is found in the darkest places." Charlotte smiles at the tribute to their beginning. The board is impressed with what we've accomplished. Even the skeptics are coming around. And Gregory? Still watching closely, but increasingly supportive. Charlotte turns to face Caleb directly, which means we should discuss what happens after the launch. The expansion to other cities? Yes. Charlotte chooses her words carefully. But also us, the boundaries we've maintained. Caleb meets her gaze. They've served their purpose, protecting the initiative while it was vulnerable. But now? Now Rising Steps has demonstrated its value independently of either of us. Its success stands on measurable outcomes, not personality or relationship. So the question becomes what we want, Caleb concludes, beyond professional collaboration. Before Charlotte can respond, her phone buzzes with an urgent message. Her expression shifts from personal to professional concern. What's wrong? Caleb asks. Marcus, he's made his next move. She shows him the screen, a breaking news alert about Hexagon Technologies announcing a strategic acquisition of Enlighten Education, a small but respected educational technology company specializing in career transitions. They're still pursuing the education angle, Caleb observes, with an established organization rather than building from scratch. Charlotte's mind races through implications. Smart pivot gives them immediate credibility and infrastructure. They return to Hayes Group headquarters to gather more information and assess the competitive impact. The acquisition represents a significant but not insurmountable challenge. Enlighten has strong educational credentials, but lacks Hayes Group's technological depth and corporate integration experience. Late that evening, as they develop response strategies, Gregory calls with additional intelligence. Marcus isn't just acquiring Enlighten's assets, he informs them. He's specifically targeting their relationship with City University, the same institution that expelled Caleb. The personal connection isn't coincidental. Marcus is deliberately choosing a battleground tied to Caleb's past, likely hoping to provoke an emotional rather than strategic response. After ending the call, Charlotte turns to Caleb. He's making this personal. It already was, Caleb replies, his voice calm despite the provocation. But we won't let it distract us from what matters, which is launching Rising Steps successfully, delivering on our promises to participants and communities. His focus remains clear despite Marcus's attempt to derail it. The rest is noise. Charlotte studies him with quiet admiration. The security guard she had found studying by flashlight has evolved into a leader whose integrity and vision remain unshaken by increasingly personal attacks. His growth isn't just professional, but personal, confident in his value without needing to prove it, committed to purpose rather than ego. You continue to surprise me, Caleb Miller, she says softly. Good. The echo of their earlier conversation brings a small smile to his face. Predictability is overrated. The official launch of Rising Steps arrives on a bright autumn morning. The renovated building gleams in the sunlight, its entrance plaza filled with community members, media representatives, business leaders, and most importantly, the first full cohort of participants, 200 people from diverse backgrounds selected from thousands of applicants. Charlotte stands at the podium, the board members, including a visibly impressed Gregory Wilson, seated behind her. Caleb waits off stage, preferring to let Charlotte handle the formal remarks while he focuses on the participants. Today marks not just the opening of a building, but the beginning of a new approach to talent, technology, and community. Charlotte begins. Rising Steps represents an Hays Group's commitment to expanding opportunity while strengthening innovation. As she outlines the program's mission and structure, Charlotte notices a commotion at the back of the crowd. Marcus Reynolds has arrived, accompanied by several Hexagon executives in what appears to be a public relations team. His presence is clearly meant to disrupt the event, perhaps hoping to provoke a confrontation that would overshadow the launch. Charlotte continues her speech without acknowledging him, focusing instead on introducing several participants who will share their experiences from the pilot program. Their authentic stories, a former retail worker now developing software, a veteran translating military leadership into technology project management, a young mother building cybersecurity skills while supporting her family, capture the audience's attention and shift the emotional center of the event. When Charlotte invites Caleb to the stage to explain the technical curriculum, a reporter calls out, "Mr. Miller, how do you respond to Marcus Reynolds' statement that your lack of formal qualifications undermines the educational credibility of Rising Steps?" The deliberate provocation creates a moment of tension. Charlotte watches Caleb, ready to intervene if necessary, but he approaches the microphone with composed purpose. "Education takes many forms," he responds thoughtfully. "My journey included formal university study until circumstances intervened, followed by years of self-directed learning. That combination of experiences informs Rising Steps' approach, recognizing that talent and capability develop through multiple pathways." He gestures toward the participants seated in the front rows. "What matters isn't how knowledge is acquired, but how it's applied to solve real problems. Rising Steps integrates traditional education with practical application and mentorship. Our results speak for themselves." Rather than engaging in personal defense or attacking Marcus, Caleb redirects attention to the program's substance and participants' achievements. The strategy neutralizes the attempted disruption, leaving Marcus visibly frustrated by his failure to derail the event. The launch concludes with tours of the facility, where participants demonstrate projects already underway. Media coverage focuses on the innovative educational model and economic impact for the community rather than corporate rivalry. By any measure, Rising Steps' introduction to the public succeeds beyond expectations. After the crowds depart, Charlotte finds Caleb on the rooftop garden, looking out over the Brooklyn neighborhood that will benefit from the center's presence. "You handled that perfectly," she tells him, joining him at the railing. "Marcus wanted confrontation, and you gave him substance instead. I learned from the best." He smiles slightly. "You've been doing that since the board presentation 3 months ago, focusing on building rather than battling." They stand in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint the city skyline in gold and crimson. The moment feels like a natural culmination of their journey, from a chance encounter in a parking garage to creating something that will impact thousands of lives. Gregory pulled me aside after the tour, Charlotte mentions. He said my father would have been proud of Rising Steps, that it honors his vision while creating something entirely new. High praise from your father's oldest friend. It was. Charlotte turns to face Caleb directly. He also said something else, that he's withdrawing his oversight role because the program has proven its value independent of our personal connection. Caleb raises an eyebrow. His exact words? More diplomatic, but that was the essence. Charlotte's smile holds both amusement and relief. He said the board is satisfied that Rising Steps represents sound business strategy, regardless of who leads it. That's significant. Caleb understands the implications. The professional boundaries they've maintained were largely for Gregory and the board's benefit. With that concern addressed, they face new possibilities. It is, Charlotte agrees, which brings us back to the conversation we started here last week, before Marcus's latest maneuver interrupted us, about what we want beyond professional collaboration. Caleb meets her gaze directly, the reserve that once characterized their early interactions replaced by honest openness. I know what I want, Charlotte. The question is whether it aligns with what you want and what's possible given our positions. I've spent my career making careful decisions, following predetermined paths, meeting others' expectations. Charlotte's voice softens with personal rather than professional conviction. Rising Steps exists because we both chose to step off those paths and imagine something different. Perhaps we should apply that same thinking to us. What are you suggesting? That we stop letting Marcus or Gregory or corporate conventions dictate the boundaries of our relationship? Charlotte steps closer. That we acknowledge what's been developing between us since that first night in the parking garage. And what is that exactly? Caleb asks, not challenging but seeking clarity. Partnership, in every sense. Professional, personal, emotional. Charlotte's directness matches the honesty that has characterized their most important conversations. I respect your intelligence, your integrity, your vision. I value your perspective on business and life. And yes, I'm attracted to you as a person, not just a colleague. Caleb absorbs her words, his expression thoughtful. Those feelings are mutual, but the complications remain. You're still the CEO. I still report to you. Organizational structures can be adjusted, Charlotte points out pragmatically. Rising Steps could become a separate entity with its own governance. There are solutions if we want to find them. Is that what you want? Caleb asks, the question simple but profound. Yes. Charlotte's answer holds the certainty that comes from careful consideration rather than impulse. Not at the expense of what we're building professionally, but alongside it. Complementary rather than conflicting. Caleb's smile slowly emerges. Not the reserved expression of their early interactions, but genuine warmth that reaches his eyes. Then let's find those solutions together, the same way we've approached every other challenge, with creativity, integrity, and partnership. As twilight deepens over the city, they remain on the rooftop garden, their conversations shifting from professional strategy to personal possibilities. The relationship that began with a chance encounter in a darkened parking garage has evolved through crisis, conflict, and creation into something neither could have anticipated, but both now recognize as valuable beyond measure. 6 months later, Rising Steps celebrates its first graduation ceremony. 187 participants receive certificates in programming, cybersecurity, data analysis, and technical project management. More importantly, over 70% have already secured positions with Hayes Group or partner companies, their talents recognized and rewarded. The ceremony takes place in the main hall of the Brooklyn Center, now one of 3 operational Rising Steps locations. Charlotte sits in the audience rather than on stage. Rising Steps now operates as an affiliated foundation with independent governance, allowing her personal relationship with Caleb to develop without corporate conflicts. As executive director, Caleb leads the ceremony with natural authority, tempered by genuine connection to the participants. His speech acknowledges their individual journeys while emphasizing the collective achievement. Each of you arrived here with different backgrounds, different challenges, different goals, he tells the graduates. What unites you is the courage to believe in your own potential when conventional systems fail to recognize it. That courage, combined with the skills you've developed here, will transform not just your careers, but the organizations fortunate enough to employ you. From her seat, Charlotte watches with pride, not just in the program's success or Caleb's leadership, but in the journey that brought them here. The corporate battle with Marcus and Hexagon has faded into background noise as Rising Step's measurable outcomes speak louder than competitive positioning. Even the business press now acknowledges Hayes Group's revolutionary approach to talent development as industry-leading innovation rather than CEO's pet project. After the ceremony, at a small reception for graduates and families, Lily Miller approaches Charlotte. Now in her final year at NYU and working part-time as a Rising Steps instructor, she carries herself with the same quiet confidence as her brother. Amazing what can happen in a year, Lily observes, watching Caleb across the room as he speaks with graduates. From security guard to this. He was always this, Charlotte replies. He just needed the right opportunity to show it. And the right person to see it. Lily gives Charlotte a knowing smile. Thank you for that, for believing in him when most people only saw the uniform. Later that evening, Charlotte and Caleb walk through the quiet building after everyone has departed. The empty classrooms and labs will fill again tomorrow with new cohorts, the program's success enabling continuous expansion. Gregory called today, Charlotte mentions. The board has approved funding for 5 additional centers next year, including international locations. Growing faster than we projected, Caleb notes with satisfaction. The data makes a compelling case. It's not just the data. Charlotte stops in the entrance hall, beside the displayed flashlight that started their journey. It's the stories, the transformed lives, the innovations coming from perspectives that would have remained untapped. Caleb follows her gaze to the flashlight. From one light in the darkness to thousands. And it all began because you were studying in a parking garage at midnight. Charlotte turns to him, taking his hand. Some might call that coincidence. I call it finding value where others weren't looking. Caleb smiles, echoing the words that connected them from the beginning. Not everyone sees value where it is right now, but that doesn't mean it's not there. As they leave the building together, the Rising Steps sign illuminates the street, a beacon of possibility in the Brooklyn neighborhood and beyond. What started as a chance encounter between CEO and security guard has evolved into a partnership that transcends conventional boundaries, personal and professional, creating light where others saw only shadows. The flashlight that once illuminated a single worn textbook now symbolizes a philosophy that transforms lives, organizations, and communities. The recognition that potential exists everywhere, waiting only for the opportunity to shine.